Spending $1 million on a wedding sounds dazzling, and it is. But here's the truth. Not everyone knows how to spend $1 million or more effectively because in the luxury space, the question isn't, can you spend $1 million? It's how do you spend it in a way that creates impact, meaning, and absolute awe for your clients and their guests. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Andrea Eppolito, and I am a destination wedding planner based here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I specialize in creating extraordinary experiences for people who lead extraordinary lives. And I have been so fortunate that my work has been embraced by such an incredibly elite clientele that really does know how to make investments. They care about the moment. They want to create something that has never been seen before and that will never be seen again. And when I travel and I speak to other wedding professionals, everyone says, oh my God, I can't imagine spending $1 million. I would love to spend $1 million. And the question that I always have in response is, yes, but do you know how? And so today I'm going to share with you my tips for managing really large, beautiful budgets so that they create impact. Now, when I have a high 6 and 7 figure wedding, the first thing that I'm doing when we're managing the money is figuring out how I am managing risk. Now, the first effective principle is risk management. Luxury is fragile, and it's not about being over the top in every moment. Being a luxury wedding planner is about control. It's about having the confidence to know that no matter what happens, my couple and their guests are going to have a beautiful experience. And so when I'm looking at how I'm going to spend my money, one of the first things, and it's not my money, but I think of it as my own. I take ownership of the investment as if it was my money. When I'm looking at how I'm going to spend it, I really make the biggest efforts to hire the most seasoned, the most capable vendors and partners that I possibly can. Now, because I work so heavily in design, this is especially true for things like custom productions, choosing locations that I know can handle contingency plans, building out redundancies in the plan, because that is the invisible safety net. Someone like me is the insurance policy that my clients are buying, saying no matter what happens, and as we've talked about, something always happens. I have a planner and she has a team in place that can handle whatever is thrown their way. Now, spending money effectively doesn't necessarily mean avoiding risk altogether. It's about managing risk. It's about seeing this spectacular opportunity to take a big risk, knowing that there's a chance that it may fall flat or that you're going to encounter problems. It's the kind of risk that will make jaws drop when they enter a completely red ballroom, or then when they walk out to the ocean, or when they're on a mountaintop in Tahoe surrounded by snow. The risk of design is very different from the risk of production. But you always have to make sure that when you are spending 6 and 7 figures, you are managing that risk with a fully immersive environment that is financially, logistically, and creatively sound so that nothing happens to ruin your client's experience. Now, the second thing that I do with these really, really large budgets is I have a conversation with my clients to understand their metric for success. I have to know what my clients truly value in order to be able to create something that is going to be meaningful for them. Now, for so many of my clients, they really care about atmosphere. They care about how things look, how they smell, how they taste. They want a fully immersive experience. There are clients who come to me and say, my level one priority isn't entertainment. My top most important thing is food and the culinary journey. And so when I sit down with my clients, I say, in a perfect world, what does the best night ever look like for you? When people leave, what is it that you want them to say? When they remember the wedding and they talk about it, is it going to be, oh my God, the entertainment? Oh my God, the flowers. She was the most beautiful bride ever. Because when you're managing a budget is just a list of priorities with a number attached. And how heavily you weight those numbers, where you put the largest part of the budget, has to tie directly back to your client's metric for success. Which leads us into point three. It still needs to align with my brand standards, because spending money on something that my clients really care about, but that I don't really care about, is not going to give my business the payoff that I necessarily want. Of course, everything has to align with my brand standards. And that has a lot to do with making sure that when a client comes to you, you see the world in the same way. You have a shared vision of success. It doesn't necessarily mean that we as luxury wedding planners are chameleons. We shouldn't be bending and twisting and changing ourselves necessarily for the client. There are people who come to me, they have beautiful budgets and they have a gorgeous relationship and they're lovely people, but we don't care about the same thing. And so if I can't buy in to their vision, if they don't necessarily align with the things that I really find joy and happiness in creating, then I am not going to be the most effective custodian of their money or their memories. In my world, effective money management means pushing the boundaries, expanding the experience. It means every dollar is being used to heighten the emotion, to create the atmosphere, not just to collect another line item on the spreadsheet. Which means that when we're buying, we don't spend a dollar more or a penny less than what we need to spend in order to get the thing that moves the experience forward. Now, what does that mean? I live by a very, very simple principle when I'm managing money, my own and my clients. Not a dollar more, not a penny less. That means that I'm not looking for restraint. I'm not looking for necessarily the best deal, but I'm also not going to overpay for a vanity vendor or for something that I don't necessarily need. It's about precision. It's about, we don't spend money just for the sake of spending it. We spend money where it's going to be impactful. We make decisions that are going to reward the careful observer, that are going to give a nod to my couple, and that are going to create the moments that matter. I'm not going to put up a sign that has a welcome note just because, well, I can put a sign there. Just because I can doesn't mean that I should. Now, if that welcome sign is giving directions, if it's reinforcing the couple's monogram, if it is creating a photo opportunity, then yes, I'm all in. But a thing just for the sake of having the thing without emotional resonance, that creates a soulless experience for my clients, for the guests, and for myself. And so we always make sure that we are investing our money in the places, the things, and the experience that heighten the moment. Every element earns its place. Every element earns its money. And I make sure that my clients are paying the right price for the right item and the right partner at the right time. Otherwise, it's simply a waste. Also, and one of the biggest things is that a little bit better than good enough is never good enough when it comes to $1 million weddings. One of the things that I'm seeing on the internet right now is a lot of wedding planners, a lot of florists, a lot of event designers saying, I'm a luxury wedding planner. And you look at their work and it is, it is beautiful. But is it new? Is it exciting? Is it something that you look at and you're blown away because, God, I never saw the world that way? Or is it just a little bit bigger and a little bit fuller than everything else that's out there. This is what people get wrong. They think that luxury and money buys you the ability to take something ordinary and just make it bigger, a bigger cake, a taller centerpiece, even just a longer table. But that's not luxury. That's just more of the same. And more of the same for $1 million is never good enough. True luxury means that when we are designing for impact. We are designing for uniqueness. We are trying to bend the world to our will so that it is a reflection of the people that we are designing for, the couple that has hired us, the friends and family that are coming into this room. And everything that we are doing is not just a slight variation of something that's been seen before, but it is a reflection of having taken the time to look at the people that are buying our art, that we are creating for them, and that, yes, we are pushing the envelope with risk to create something that when people leave, they say, I've never seen or experienced anything like that in my life. That is an effective spend. And last but not least, cohesion is everything. If you're spending $1 million on food and fashion, but you're not tying it in to floral and location, weighting everything, 80% of your budget in one area, and then just doing the bare minimum everywhere else means that you have a wedding or an experience that's kind of broken. The dress is incredible and it's stunning and it's couture, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for the venue that it's in. You send out insane, magnificent boxed invitations, and the wedding is in a location that maybe doesn't live up to the perceived element and grandeur that the invitation set the tone for. And so when you are looking to spend the money, when you are breaking out $1 million budget, one of the things that I'm always thinking about is how cohesive is this? And it's not just about buying the biggest or the shiniest or the most expensive. It's making sure that the elements work together, that the food complements the decor, that the entertainment knows when to go over the top and when to pull back for that really meaningful, sentimental moment. It's making sure that we have lighting that highlights the story and that doesn't distract from it. Cohesion is a really big element and it transforms your design and your monetary investment into storytelling. Without it, even $1 million can feel empty and hollow. And so, the unifying principle against all of this is that money isn't magic. The money is the tool that allows us to create something beautiful, something extraordinary. But how we invest that money as wedding planners and event pros, that is about discipline. It's about vision. It's about daring and taking risk, but also spending enough to make sure that that risk can be handled and managed. So the next time you have the opportunity to spend with a budget that is perhaps beyond your own wildest dreams, I really want you to think and remember that if you're planning $1 million wedding, yes, the number is impressive and it's wild, but it is not nearly as impressive as how you spend that money, what you do with it to create value, to heighten emotion, and to turn a moment into a memory that is going to last an absolute lifetime and a story that's going to be told for generations to come. Thank you so much for spending some of your very valuable time with me. I hope that this kind of breakdown on how I approach big dollar weddings helps you get into the mindset so that the next time you have a client, you can spend with intention, taking risk and doing something that has never been done before. My name is Andrea Eppolito. We will talk again soon.